A barometric low hung over the Atlantic. It moved eastward toward a high-pressure area over Russia without as yet showing any inclination to bypass this high in a northerly direction. The isotherms and isospheres were functioning as they should. The air temperature was appropriate relative to the annual mean temperature and to the aperiodic monthly fluctuations of the temperature. The rising and setting of the sun, the moon, the phases of the moon, of Venus, of the rings of Saturn, and many other significant phenomena were all in accordance with the forecasts in the astronomical yearbooks. The water vapor in the air was at its maximal state of tension, while the humidity was minimal. In a word that characterizes the facts fairly accurately, even if it is a bit old-fashioned, it was a fine day in August 1913. Automobiles shot out of deep, narrow streets into the shallows of bright squares. Dark clusters of pedestrians formed cloud-like strings. Where more powerful lines of speed cut across their casual haste, they clotted up, then trickled on faster, and after a few oscillations resumed their steady rhythm. Hundreds of noises wove themselves into a wiry texture of sound, with barbs protruding here and there, smart edges running along it and subsiding again, with clear notes splintering off and dissipating. By this noise alone, whose special quality cannot be captured in words, a man returning after years of absence would have been able to tell with his eyes shut that he was back in the imperial capital and royal city of Vienna. Cities, like people, can be recognized by their walk. Opening his eyes, he would know the place by the rhythm of movement in the streets long before he caught any characteristic detail. It would not matter even if he only imagined that he could do this. We overestimate the importance of knowing where we are because in nomadic times it was essential to recognize the tribal feeding grounds. Why are we satisfied to speak vaguely of a red nose without specifying what shade of red, even though degrees of red can be stated precisely to the micromillimeter of a wavelength, while, with something so infinitely more complicated as what city one happens to be in, we always insist on knowing it exactly? It merely distracts us from more important concerns. So let us not place any particular value on the city's name. Like all big cities, it was made up of irregularity, change, forward spurts, failures to keep step, collisions of objects and interests, punctuated by unfathomable silences, made up of pathways and untrodden ways, of one great rhythmic beat, as well as the chronic discord and mutual displacement of all its contending rhythms. All in all, it was like a boiling bubble inside a pot made of the durable stuff of buildings, laws, regulations, and historical traditions. The two people who were walking up one of its wide, bustling avenues naturally were not thinking along these lines. They clearly belonged to a privileged social class, with their distinguished bearing, style of dress, and conversation, the initials of their names embroidered on their underwear. And just as discreetly, which is to say not for outward show, but in the fine underwear of their minds, they knew who they were, and that they belonged in a European capital city and imperial residence. Their names might have been Ermelinda Tutsi and Arnheim, but then they couldn't be, because in August Frau Tutsi was still in Bad Aussee with her husband, and Dr. Arnheim was still in Constantinople, so we are left to wonder who they were. People who take a lively interest in what goes on often wonder about such puzzling sights on the street, but they soon forget them again, unless they happen to remember during their next few steps where they have seen those other two before. The pair now came to a sudden stop when they saw a rapidly gathering crowd in front of them. Just a moment earlier, something there had broken ranks. Falling sideways with a crash, something had spun around and come to a skidding halt. A heavy truck, as it turned out, which had braked so sharply that it was now stranded with one wheel on the curb.